Malibu, California. It used to be enough simply to be large and rugged. In those simpler days, the portly Expedition and even bulkier Excursion roamed suburbia like two large adult sons, sparring with the Suburban and its variants, selling by the fistful. And suddenly, big wasn't enough. Automakers figured out how to make the wallowiest SUVs dance. Refinement, quietness, and quality materials pervaded the segment. Have you seen a mid-trim Tahoe lately? Cover the badges and it'd pass for an Escalade interior concept from a few years ago. You can have it all: space freight, the ability to tow an oil tank car, Wi-Fi, and even a modicum of all-terrain capability. Not that you will use it, you can have it all for a price. At least, those two have increased, along with the Refinement. Somewhere along the way, the Expedition was left on the side of the road. It's not clear exactly when it stopped being a class leader, but ditching the V8 in 2015 wasn't enough to move the needle. That changes now. It's platform-made, the Lincoln Navigator, either dethroned or is a very serious competitor to the Cadillac Escalade, depending on your perspective and prejudices. That it's seriously mentioned in the same breath as that wildly successful luxury SUV is a big, huge leap forward. Rather than reinvent the Expedition and Navigator entirely, Ford dug deep and built the big SUV it should have all along. Instead of a few distinct advantages lost in the sea of mediocrity, the entire vehicle is on par with or better than the GMT2K platform trucks from GM. Beyond the independent rear suspension, which helps with dynamics as well as rear cargo floor flatness, and the G-Whiz EcoBoost V6 with best-in-class theoretical fuel economy, there's a lightweight aluminum body perched on top of a traditional steel ladder frame. Depending on trim and configuration, it's up to 300 pounds lighter than its predecessor. In particular, the monolithic headlight grille bar looks upscale but is a simpler shape than the facelifted 2018 F-150S, which looks like it ran into a couple of chrome chow bars on the way to the ranch. It's no new Navigator, sure, the interior of which is like 2017 as imagined in 1967, but it's a sea change compared to the old Expedition's menagerie of hard plastic shapes, textures, and colors, all slightly nasty looking, and everywhere. Our tester had wood veneer on the center console, green-colored upholstery and trim, silver-colored plastic, dark soft dash covering, and dark hard smooth plastic, depending on where you looked. The engine, while not new, has been improved, with more power and torque available in the Platinum trim. For those keeping score at home, the lower output EcoBoost makes a healthy 375 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque, and feels exactly as satisfying as a V8 making similar power. There's torque everywhere, very little lag, and it even sounds kind of okay. The Platinum version makes 400 horsepower and 480 pounds-to-foot. Both are well north of the old Expedition's EcoBoost V6, which merely made 365 horsepower and 420 pounds-to-foot, and both new engines trounce the Suburban's 5.3-liter V8, which is good for 355 horsepower and 383 pounds-to-foot of torque, particularly in terms of twist. On paper, the Expedition is king by a hair, pulling 20 miles per gallon combined, 17 city, 24 highway, out of the EPA test cycle. This may be a false economy, because our real-world experience is that turbocharged engines can guzzle more fuel than similar non-turbo counterparts unless you drive like you're in an EPA test. We spent about 20 minutes pulling a 6,500-pound Airstream trailer around the hilly mountain roads north of Malibu, and despite lacking advanced towing features like rear-axle air suspension, not available in any Expedition, it did perfectly fine up and down long grades. What's particularly impressive about its towing prowess is that the Expedition's newfangled 10R automatic didn't freak out once. The Expedition does this without having advanced active stabilizer bars or active suspension. The second-row bench, despite its thinness in profile and the requirement for it to tilt and slide to access the third row, provides plenty of headroom, adult comfort for all three positions, and theater-style elevation to give a great view of the road ahead. In fact, The middle seat in the second row is the best seat in the house if you have the optional panoramic vista roof. On short wheelbase models, space behind the third row is limited, but fold both rows flat with a button push and a cavernous, flat space emerges, 51.4 inches wide and long enough for me to stretch out. Getting to the campsite won't be much of a chore, either, despite the Expedition's girth, 81.6 inches not counting the mirrors, massive wheelbase, up to 131.6 inches, and height, up to 76.4 inches. There's at least 9.7 inches of ground clearance, and the FX4 off-road package gains about an inch due to some trimming of the front air dam. One that you won't mind pinstriping on overhanging branches intent on caressing the Expedition's wide flanks. Premier trim comes in at $66,125, still well south of a SWD Platinum Expedition.